What is going on, YouTube? So pretty much, this is another video that I'm in a really great mood to just start talking about because the Clippers pretty much had no star players, basically. Well, at least on paper. But we all know we have our own type of stars. But basically, we didn't. Paul George, our other all superstar, did not play the last two games. Nick Batum was out, and we still beat one of the best team in the NBA and one of the most smartest team in the NBA. But first and foremost, please, be sure to sign the petition that I made to change the Christmas schedule because I ain't really trying to see the Jazz versus the Mavs. I'm trying to see the Clippers versus the Mavs because come on, bro. Like I want to see my Clippers on Merry Christmas too against the Dallas Mavericks because that'll be incredibly exciting for not only Clippers fans but every fans in general. Like let's be real, who's trying to see the Jazz versus the Mavs on Christmas? It's just a regular game. Like, come on, bro. What was the NBA thinking? But anyways, all now I'm gonna stop advertising now. But before, well, never mind. I already I messed up already because I'm gonna just remind you. I'm gonna just be sure to head on the description to find the link, and I'll try to post the link at the comments if I could remember. But that being said, let's just dive in. So after a really beautiful win against the Orlando Magic, so first and foremost, I'm gonna shout out Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard because they were pretty much the people who were keeping the Clippers afloat, and they're doing it in great ways. Like Reggie Jackson, he was making some shots. He was making some key shots. He was being Reggie Jackson, Action Jackson. And Luke Kennard, I want to give him major props. Major props because he was splashing threes. He was being so-called new Kennard, and he is really stepping his game up because, like, y'all know how I felt about Luke Kennard in the beginning of seasons because I knew Luke Kennard was good, um, but but Luke Kennard last 2 weeks, he's been stepping up big time. He is showing that he is actually being like a really like a he's being a really good shooter. He's showing signs like kind of like he's showing flashes of being like a Kyle Korver and a rich man JJ Redick. But and anyways, again, he's making some shots, making some key plays. He's doing everything you want him to do. So I ain't gonna lie. Shout out Luke Kennard. Um, Terrence Mann, Terrence Mann, Terrence Mann. I know a lot of people were criticizing Terrence Mann like kind of lately because his offense was kind of a little bit on the stagnant side, but Terrence Mann, he's going back to the Terrence Mann that we saw in the playoff. He's bringing hustle, bringing energy, bringing great defense, bringing rebounding, doing everything. And also, he's showing more flashes of being a good playmaker because that one pass to Eric Bledsoe when we played the Suns earlier, like he was literally in a tough position in the paint, he just dimed it to Bledsoe. That was incredibly beautiful. Um, another another player we could talk about is Ivica Zubac, because again, Zubac and other people were kind of including me at times. We kind of question his moments, like he gets on a clumsy side, but Ivica Zubac, he's showing his vintage self. Like he is basically like playing like 2019 2020 Zubac, a big man that you want him to do. He plays he Let just like he basically got 4 blocks tonight. That says a lot, which is that's actually really good. He got 4 blocks. He got some solid rebounds. I believe he did kind of get a lot of fouls quickly though, which is that's a big bummer. But again, he's actually he did pretty good against JaVale McGee tonight, which is that's actually pretty that's actually pretty good. Like, cause Zubac Zubac has been getting better, better. Cause I know. The first 10 games, like that's one big weakness of Zubac is his consistency at times. Like today and yet in last game, he's playing like a really solid big. But some games he just kind of gets clumsy easily. I mean, of course he did show some clumsiness, but it was not a really big deal. But other games he was kind of slow on defense. But right now Zubac's been pretty good, so I had to give major props to that. Um. Oh, let's talk about Brandon Boston Jr. Like I know. There'll be some people who probably may want to talk about Brandon Boston's struggles. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Brandon Boston Jr. scored tonight. But I mean, again, like I said in one of the videos, while at the same time I was literally gassing up young Brandon Boston a lot and other young players. I did briefly mention that there will always be some growing pains, but it's all good because one thing I like about Brandon Boston is he is showing a lot of confidence that pretty much a lot of people don't have. Like he has a true heart of being a really good bucket getter, and it's not like he's like he played like he's like the worst of the worst. Because I mean he is actually solid on like really underrated on defense. Like people are gonna they're gonna overlook his defense because his thin frame, but in my opinion, from what I've seen, he's been pretty solid. I mean, of course, he was not hitting his shots tonight, but it's all good. It's part of the game because everybody has off nights. But when Brandon Boston, we all know what Brandon Boston can do when he's on. He's like that type of guy that could definitely get you 25 plus. And you give him a green light, he is just gonna be. He's just like a low key. Like if Brandon Boston Jr. was on any other team, he low key probably would have been averaging 20 plus per game in my personal opinion because you could just tell like how good of a player they are, if you know what I mean. And then another player that all of a sudden got way more minutes because a lot of players were hurt was Justice Winslow. I know, I know. So people on Justice Winslow, they're pretty split. Even some people in my comment section, they don't really like Justice Winslow too much, which is I can really understand because his offense is kind of is definitely questionable actually. But I mean, in my personal opinion, like one thing I do like about Justice Winslow is I like his defense, and it showed a lot tonight against the Phoenix Suns. He got a good amount of blocks as well too. He's basically like a type of guy that you would like if you want your team to be really good at defense. But again, he does have a lot of things that he could definitely work on. But if it were up to me though, I would much rather have the young guys play over Justice Winslow, especially like I know Ty Lue did step number one, and it's to play Brandon Boston Jr. Now Tyronn Lue, in my opinion, needs to do step number two, and it's to unleash J Scrub. Because, like I said, I like J Scrub. He's been balling in the G League, which is he's showing a lot of signs that he could be a bucket. He could take over. He could play really good defense. He did have a pretty bad game, I believe, days ago, which is again, it's part of the game. It happens. I mean, hey, our Serge Ibaka, a really good big, he did have a pretty inefficient start. I believe he had for 14 or some number like that. I cannot accurately describe, but again, I know Jay's biggest weakness will be like the biggest concern of him actually playing real NBA minutes will be his turnovers. But I mean, hey, look at Eric Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe turns the ball over all the time, but yet he's still getting minutes. But I'm not gonna lie, Bledsoe was not the worst tonight either. He was actually he did penetrate to the lane and made some solid layups, and he did made that beautiful three that Terrence Mann downed it to him. So that's a right side of Eric Bledsoe. And Tyler Lue's rotation. One thing I'll give big props to Ty Lue is some days, like, there'll be moments when I'll be like, what the heck, Ty Lue, what are you doing? And because you see how I was in the beginning of the season. Like, Ty Lue makes decisions that, I'm pretty frustrated with him or something like that. But when it matters, I'm sure he's low-key smarter than I would think, because he always finds like a pretty good rotation. Like he finally did not play Amir Coffey, which is low key. I suspect that Ty Lue was just because how players, they may not be the most ready immediately, so they're waiting for the young players to really break out. Then Ty Lue will officially unleash. Um, I suspect Ty Lue's just trying to raise some value towards Amir Coffey because, I mean, I'm sure if you put Amir Coffey in a trading block, of course you're not going to get much, but you can at least get some, like, I don't know, cash consideration, draft considerations, um, trade exceptions, or if you put them in a trade package to get an upgrade, I'm sure teams would definitely take that because I'm sure it would help. Because, I mean, hey, Coffee, I'm like, look, he started off really frustrating, but later on, he was actually all right. Like, he was like a Mo Harkless, all right, like a decent team plus, plays good defense. But would I rather have players like Keon and Jay play? Oh, definitely. But and also another thing I want to take a dig on, like, now enough me of talking about the youth, because I believe I did way too much of talking about them, but I know some people, actually a decent amount of people I've seen in some of the in some comment sections, not mine, but some comment sections, they want to say the Clippers don't play competition. They only win against trash teams, but what just happened? We beat one of the best teams in the NBA. It was not just a good team. I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns, and yes, they're going to say, oh, Devin Booker was hurt, or oh, DeAndre Ayton was hurt, but they still got Chris Paul, which is one of the greatest point guards of all time, and still a pretty premier point guard right now. They pretty much still had their whole squad. They still had Jay Crowder. They still had Cameron Johnson. They still had Cameron Payne, and that's still like a solid team. And the Clippers pretty much did not have, of course, the best player in the world, Kawhi Leonard. They did not have Paul George. They did not even have the French bayonet, Nick Batum. And we still pulled it off. But Wednesday night, it will be the Utah Jazz, which is another really good team. And if we beat the Jazz, yeah, now it's even a bigger statement because, in my opinion, the Clippers made a pretty, really, like a key statement. Like they, like they showed one thing. Like, I know a lot of teams, they play pretty smart. They're really, whether it's high IQ or they're just really skilled. But one thing I noticed about the Clippers ever since Paul George was out, they're starting to show signs of resiliency. They're showing signs of heart because, like, in my opinion, heart beats everything. Because you can be all smart all you want, but if you don't have heart, it's just not gonna be it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, heart alone is not gonna beat everything, but because of course now the Clippers they're just playing smarter. They're playing smarter than in the beginning of the season because our ball movement is pretty darn amazing in my opinion. Especially at least this game it was. I adored the ball movement. And I like Ty Lue's like you see. I know like I would get frustrated with Ty Lue at times, but if I had to give Ty Lue a big props is I like the way how he would call out plays. So, to get our players buckets because let's be real, if Doc Rivers was the coach, we would pretty much not even be like nowhere near where we at. We would probably be like like contending for the lottery, like if we're being completely honest. But again, that's a that's just hypothetical. I mean, Philly is doing a solid, but we'll see how the playoffs happen. And pretty much, I don't think there's not really much I could really cover. I mean, I basically covered what happened tonight against the Phoenix Suns. I mean, everybody did the thing. I mean, I could talk about. I mean, I just forgot about Isaiah Hartenstein for a minute because Hartenstein, he doesn't disappoint. He does not disappoint because he's a whopping team plus because um he's showing a lot of IQ, which is he keeps doing, which is that's a really really key element for the Clippers. He like one thing I really like about Hart because is like in terms of perimeter defense because normally bigs are not supposed to guard the point guards, but I've seen when Hartenstein guarded players like Cameron Payne and Chris Paul, and they're incredibly fast players. Hartenstein, he actually held his own, and that is that is a really, really, really that's really crucial. That's because that's one of the Clippers' biggest issue is like in the playoffs last season, um, the guards would pretty much take advantage of our bigs a lot, like whether it could be Zubac or etc. But Hartenstein is showing that signs that he could guard perimeter, like on the perimeter side as well too, not just the interior. And that is really amazing that he is showing his versatility. And Zubac, I noticed he kind of improved on that too because I he I remember when Chris Paul he did nutmeg Zubac and then Zubac did recover and managed to make Chris Paul miss that 3-point shot, which is again that's a really that's some good signs. But anyways, I'll just wrap up this video and to say good night, Clipper Nation, and be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe or dislike if you disagree, and I'll try to discuss with y'all in the comment section. Peace.